What up YouTube, Topaz Yates back for another album review, and this one is to that Nipsey Hussle Victory Lap, and I'm giving this one the green light, dude. Honestly, saw this green light coming for a while, all the people who've been watching my videos, man, because there has been a strong selection of songs that Nipsey Hussle has released that have all been pretty dope, like back to back to back to back. It was honestly competing for Album of the Year before it even released. That's how good these singles were that he dropped, you dig? And you know, as I was listening to this project, I began questioning, like, could this be the digital age Chronic right here? Because there's a lot of ways that you can draw some core comparisons here. Because if you go back to the Chronic, man, Dr. Dre, a legendary producer who was doing work with NWA for quite some time, man, who took his time to build up his own album, man, and then dropped it, and it hit all kinds of ways when that did happen. And then you look at Nipsey Hussle, a guy who's been building up for a very long time trying to do this Victory Lap album, as he's been talking about it forever. And then he built all of these singles that came out and hit back to back to back to back, which were all fire, you did. Like, there's a lot of comparisons to be had here. But if we're going to make this comparison, then we definitely got to break down the Chronic album. Because my question I pose to you guys, man, is, okay, the Chronic is a classic album. I'm never going to deny that. But how many songs from the Chronic do you actually listen to still to this day, you dig? Because we all know the classic songs that took over the airways, that molded an entire generation in Dre Day, Nothing But a G Thing, Let Me Ride. These songs are legendary. But outside of those singles, what other songs do you really rock with off of that album? Like me personally, I got two songs, and that was that D's Nuts, and it was that Little Ghetto Boy. You dig? Like, those songs was fire. I still got them on my playlist for my old MP3 player that I'll hook up and play every so often, you dig? But let's do the math on that. That's 5 songs out of 16 that I really rocked with, but yet 3 of those were songs that took the whole culture to a whole nother level. Now let's look at this Nipsey Hussle album, man, where there was a bunch of songs just leading up to this project that I've been saying is pretty fire, man. And it was Rap Negroes, Last Time I Checked, that Dedication, Grinding All My Life, man. These songs were amazing. And he actually didn't even add the last song that I felt were amazing too, which was that Bend Down, which it's all good. I mean, it definitely had room on this project to be there, but it is what it is. I ain't even mad at it. But those were just the singles, man. But what about the new songs off this project? I really loved that Victory Lap, which was the intro, man, because it ultimately set the whole tone for this whole project right here. And you know, my whole thing is how I feel about the whole theme of the title and all of that, dude. Even though he's not specific with it, I feel as though he's saying everything that he did to build up to this point to actually get the record deal that he wanted, even though record labels were not giving out this deal. The grind that he did to change the music industry to become as notable as he was just on the underground and all that, man. At this point now, it's a victory lap because all the hard parts are done and he's going to be able to do everything that he wants to do. My next favorite song was that Blue Laces 2, where there's no core concept that ties together each verse on this, man. But the way that he's spitting to this quality production makes it rather dope, as in the first verse, he first begins off talking about how he's stunting, and then he goes into the struggles of the whole hustle and all of that, on how people will turn on you and snitch to the people that don't do good by anybody within the culture, and he questions them why they would even do that, and then begins to see, okay, it's time to make a change. And then second verse, he begins talking about how he's become notable and how he's ultimately in these circles, and they wanted him to come out and speak in things that you would never project somebody who came up what he came up out of to be included in any of this. And then in the third verse, he does like a flashback talking about a shootout that he had on the beach where he had to drive his homie to the hospital and all that, man. Like, it's really not tied together at all, but yet it's definitely an enjoyable track. And my last favorite song was that Right Hand to God, where this is pretty much just getting sworn in like you will see presidents and all of that do, you dig, where He's pretty much saying, okay, everything that I'm saying here is truthful. So I'ma swear myself in and just spit from the survivor scrolls pretty much. So let's tally up these numbers right here, man. Off of this album, I like 7 out of 15, a much better percentage than what Dr. Dre, The Chronic had. But yet you also got to factor in that the music industry has changed from the time of The Chronic to this album right here, you dig? Because we are now in the full-fledged digital age. See, there were no super sophisticated tools to actually measure The Chronic's cultural impact outside of everybody's memory on how great that project was for its time. Yes, it was played on the radio all the time when being on the radio actually mattered. Like, it really doesn't matter like that these days because the digital age is what it is, and people really don't listen to the radio. And the fact that there's so many musicians out here right now, man, that is difficult in the hip-hop genre to actually ever have another cultural impact like what Dr. Dre had back in the times, you dig? And then the fact that this Nipsey Hussle Victory Lap album has to survive this test of time like every classic album must do. And the jury is still out on whether that is possible. You feel me? Like, there's no telling if this project will just fade out and he'll have to drop something else, or it'll just continue to build up and bubble and be that classic album that the Dr. Dre The Chronic was, you did. But even with the jury still being out on all of this, man, I will say that this is the new Chronic for the digital age, but we just got to see if that even means anything right now. So I'm giving this project an 8.5 out of 10, a must listen to, a must purchase out there right now, you dig? I hope you enjoyed the show. You can follow me at Twitter up there, and you can go to downloadpads.com, that's down there, to read today's article.